you like the video, it'll be my honor if you can like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. And there are a lot more figure diorama photography as well as figure height comparison at the end of this video, so please watch and enjoy until the end. Now, let's begin. Hello everyone, how's everybody doing today? And today, as you can see, I love Phase 1 Clone Trooper. I do love Phase 2, but I love Phase 1 the best. And therefore, when they released the updated version, which was a while ago, but in Canada I couldn't get it, so I was waiting for BBTS and so on, and I finally got them. I couldn't just have one, I need to get at least 5. And yeah, I love them. They're awesome. And it's the army build-up figures, right? So yeah, just getting one wasn't justified in my case. So I got total of 5. And yes, they are awesome. They're not like the sharpest of the figures. Say comparing to the figure arts or the Bandai model kit, they're not really that sharp, or the articulation is not the best, but overall it's not a bad figure. So let's take a look at this badass figure. It comes with I don't know if it's focusing well. It comes with one blaster rifle, which is really nice. I love it. I didn't get the original, the first version of these Clone Trooper. This is the second updates that they did, and therefore they're single joint. So I can't compare it with the old one, but I hear a lot of people not happy with the single joint. I am okay with the single joint because their double jointed articulation wasn't that great anyways, and when I played around with it, it's the typical Hasbro figure joint articulation. So I don't see much good use that Hasbro's technology can offer us when it comes to the joint articulation, i.e. Hasbro isn't the best when it comes to making a joint and having a wide range of articulation. They're probably not in the best 10 anyway, so I kind of don't care too much out of it. But let's take a look. His head, let's go like so, tilt, looks down that much, up that much, 360. Now his shoulder pad is actually connected to his elbow, unlike his original one where it was connected to his armor. So therefore you do get a more range of shoulder movement, and as you can see, it's really, a soft plastic, so whenever you moved around, you kind of have to play around with it to make it look natural. But if you put his shoulder too much, then you can get this crease, which would make him not look realistic. So I say just around that much would be good, but if you want to, it goes up that much, which is a lot for Hasbro. And his arm, it's not a double, or it's not a butterfly joint or anything, so it only comes out that much, back that much. And he also, unlike the Marvel Legend, he does not have a bicep cut, so it doesn't go 360 or anything, but his elbow does have a better range of articulation. And this elbow pad is, I think what they're doing is, it's just a separate piece. It's a rubber piece kind of thing. I think it's a plastic, but it's like a really rubberish material, so it's just on there and it wouldn't get in any movement. It will not bother in any of the movement. And his elbow does go around slightly better than 90 degrees. Again, it's Hasbro. We don't expect much when it comes to articulation anyways. Now wrist goes 360 and goes up that much and goes down that much. Now let's just say better articulation than Hot Toys. Because Hot Toys really suck at articulation. So his ab crunch goes that much, and it's not much, but again, it's the armored figures, so you don't expect too much movement anyways. But for a armored figure, I think it's quite good. It's not bad at all. Like, I'm not gonna complain. Absolutely zero complaint on his ab crunch. So look at that movement. God, you can hula hoop a lot with this guy. So that's completely fine. His leg can only go open that much. You can kick out and around that much. And again, it's armored character. I'm fine with that. Now, the infamous part that everybody was upset, especially is the knee. It's not double jointed. But again, from the photo I seen comparing to the original clone Phase 1 Trooper or Phase 2 Trooper, it's not much different, I think. It's really not much. If you compare it with like import figures, then yeah, they have way better articulation. But really, see, it's not much. I don't complain at all for this. And the good thing is, I think is his knee pad is actually connected to his thigh area, but his belt itself is actually is floating on his joint to avoid any hindrance on his articulation, which is a neat thing. Though I would want them to give him a better articulation on the hip, because due to his hip, you can move the armor this way and then bring it up to give him a better articulation. But when it comes to army figures, I focus more on if you can do the crouching pose, because a lot of army figures, soldier figures do crouch, and if you do this weird movement, then you can make him crouch decently, but it looks weird, right? It's like his knee pad is all wrong and his pad right here is moving that way and so on. It looks kind of weird. I do understand Clone Trooper had this little, his side armor is so high that it gets in the way, but like if they could have solved, maybe not that, maybe if they would have made the knee armor connected to here instead, then it would have been more natural. But now it looks weird. So that's the only thing I have against it. If they could have fixed that, that would be fantastic. And one more thing is that these rubber materials, they tend to corrode, and they break down much faster than any of the other plastics. So I'm a little bit worried about that. It's in the short run, it's okay, but maybe in like 10-15 years, or maybe in whatever years, that it might start breaking down. So that's the thing I'm a little bit worried about it. Hasbro isn't the best when it comes to the material that they use anyhow, and his foot goes around that much movement, which is decent. So overall, I'm okay with the figure itself. His mold isn't sharp at all. It's very blurred when it comes to the sharpness. Like his body armor is fine. It's quite sharp enough. His helmet, for some reason, it's not sharp. It's like really faded. And they're using a different material. They're using a very soft material, and there is a head underneath, which I do see a. Let me try. Give me a second, everyone. There you go. So when you look at it, I don't know if you can look well, but you can see the nostril and the mouth and so on. So there is an actual head in there, and therefore they made the helmet soft. But for me, it's like, we don't need that. You could just give us the head, like the helmet as the head, and be done with it. So they didn't need to. How's that? They didn't need to, make it a different material. Just give us a hard plastic head like the armor, so they could have a more sharper helmet, because the helmet is his face. So yeah, that's a little, especially the side. If you look at it, it's really not sharp at all. It's just very blurry. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that I have a complaint on. And if I compare it with other Clone War figure, just give me a second. So I got, this is the Medicom version, and like Medicom, they're significantly bigger, and yeah, they're really outdated, but they're like almost a similar sharpness. They're not too different. But then if you compare it with the figure arts, and figure art is slightly smaller, so it's hard to say, but they are definitely sharper, but they're just too small. Then if you bring this is my figure, my custom figure of myself, Shingo Trooper, but this is a Bandai helmet, and the sharpness is, just incomparable. It is just the best level of any trooper out there, and maybe comparing with these two might be a little bit too much, but again, it's too soft. So hopefully they could have made it sharper. They could have easily made it sharper, but for some reason they didn't. So that's a little bummer. Now, I did say I didn't have the Phase 1 clone trooper, but I do have, these guys, and these are, the old sculpt, but they're using the same body anyways. And as you can see, if you compare with the double joint and the single joint does give you a better articulation. Maybe if I look it from the front, definitely it does give you a better articulation. However, for the leg, I do think the older version does give you a better range of. Actually, they're almost the same. They're really almost the same. Slightly, I think the older one's better. But it looks more natural having the knee pad here versus that. So if they could have fixed that somehow, then that would have been great. But again, old versus new, the difference is that it does look more natural comparing to the older one. The shoulder is more down versus him, where the shoulder seems to be really bulky. So this one does look like a person's actually inside. This one looks like more of a hero character that we imagine in our head, but doesn't actually exist. His shoulder are just too wide, and that's a little too wide, I think, versus a more narrow shoulder here. So it looked more realistic when it comes to the sculpt. But overall, and yes, the older one does have a decent articulation, so it's like a upgrade. It's a 2.0, but for me it's like upgrade 1.5, though it's all complete new sculpt. It's a better realistic design, but I'm comparing it with a Phase 2 helmet from the past isn't that fair, but it is, it is sharper, the older one, because they're using a better plastic. It's a hard plastic versus this is a really soft plastic. So if they would have used a softer or harder plastic, they could have solved this, kind of diffused, detailed look. So that's a little bummer. They could have easily given us a much sharper head with the Phase 1 clone trooper. Sad that they didn't. But again, it does not dismiss his awesomeness. These guys are really nice. I love them. Clone War, the Attack of the Clone movie, I that was the least favorite of mine. It was just so diluted and too much, thing going on. But the clones are the best of my preference. I love the Stormtrooper design, but I love the Phase 1 Clone Trooper slightly more, and they're better in the battle. It's a clone. They kick ass way more. So my preference is always the clone Phase 1 Trooper. That's why my avatar Shingo Trooper is actually using the Phase 1 Clone Trooper helmet. And yeah, I am very happy to have these guys in my collection. And yes, it's a figure that's, I think, not sold out. I don't think it will be sold out that fast. And if it is, you can just buy another different clone and you can just paint them white, hopefully. But yeah, overall, I love these figures, and I will be taking a lot of pictures, hopefully, with these guys, not only this time, but in the future too. And one last thing I want to say, it's a nightmare putting the helmet back, because when I was talking, the whole time I was trying to put this guy back, it's not going in there, so I'm going to heat it up. So yeah, if you want to pop his head out, then just be aware you need to heat it up to return it. And yeah, I will take some photos. See you all soon. Thank you very much for watching my figure unboxing photography review. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Currently, there are only 6% of my audience who are subscribed, and I feel a little bit lonely here, so your subscription will give me inspiration to go on further. Thank you again, and see you all soon. 遊びでやってるんだよ。